this to a 7. 7. I can see. I can.
Mic check.
I can hear you over there slurping.
Be nice. All right. Action.
Welcome back to episode 14.
Yeah, check you out. 14. Masculine energy rubbing off on you.
Absolutely. Welcome back to episode 14 of Remembering Me, a soul healing podcast. I am Candace Love.
I'm your boy, Brick City Buddha, also known as Docs.
I did a really good job with our intro.
Yeah.
I remembered everything, and it's been how long?
2 months. I just checked. Our last episode was 2 months ago.
That's not that long. But I guess
that's a long time in the podcast world.
Yeah, because if you putting out a podcast every week, then 2 months is a minute.
And we just had Sundays with Source, and I got ran down on by one of our attendees, and she like, look, I love y'all podcast. I need a new episode. I'm like, we got 13. I seen them all twice.
Right.
What are y'all doing? So we back. We be busy.
Yeah. And people ain't really trying to hear that. They like, listen, my relationship is dependent on the information y'all put out in this podcast.
Right. And on our end, it's not that we don't enjoy doing this. We love doing this. These are conversations we would normally have just with each other. So to be able to share them with the world and have y'all resonate with it is beautiful. But in 2023, everything is so algorithm, pattern, program based. And when you launch a podcast, people expecting, well, y'all want to grow y'all brand, right? Y'all supposed to be. And we go with the flow of how the universe says or God says we supposed to move. And we may have plans. All right, we're going to do 3 podcasts this week.
Yeah.
And then Source say, nope, I need you in a different place at a different time. So we just like with our clients, just like with how we approach our business, it's not based on bottom line. It's based on what our spirit commands of us in a particular moment. And that's been the last 2 months of doing other things. So we're happy to be back.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this before. And I guess this is us showing that in real time.
Yeah.
But it's really helpful if you are someone who is looking to be an entrepreneur, someone who is looking to start your own podcast or any type of endeavor that requires you to be creative. But Instagram says the only way that you can evolve is to be consistent and to post 1 time a week or twice in a day. You are going to have to learn how to find a regimen that works best for you, that resonates with your spirit. Because if you go based on another person's regimen, you will burn out or you will lack in other things that may need your attention or your nurturing. So you get to create the formula of how you want to nurture whatever your creativity is.
And I think the consistency that matters more is the consistency in being able to hear what your spirit is communicating. My page don't look nothing like what bustling page is supposed to look like on Instagram. I don't have no
Not bustling.
I had to dig for that one. It came. But I don't have the color coordination. I don't have the, the nice little fancy quip and then railing and quip. I don't do all of that. I just go at the speed of what my spirit tells me to do. And I've been able to have spirit, source, universe show and prove that as long as I honor what my spirit tell me to do, even if that's sit down, even if that's realizing we got a top 50 podcast as far as health and wellness in the country, that 2 months, not even off, but honoring what our spirit is communicating to us is not going to stall us out. It's not going to set us back. It's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So I think a lot of people in business, especially in 2023, need to realize, yes, consistency is key, but the consistency of listening to your spirit is more important than any algorithm or you posting 3-4 times a day. So yeah, in real time, y'all get to see us be able to honor that.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is because when you are working with yourself as the algorithm, if you're resonating with your spirit and paying attention to the timeline that resonates with your spirit, what you put out could go viral way more than you posting every day because you were just so in tune with your spirit. You went when you were guided to go. You created when you were guided to create. And you put it out when you were guided to put it out, as opposed to you forcing yourself to put something out every single day and it just never hits. You may put out that one thing and that hit way more.
That
So
happens all the time with
all the
us.
time.
I was
Yeah.
I was just sitting there as she was nodding off, doing the sleepy dance. I was sitting here watching what's the name of the documentary? Big Vape.
Oh yeah.
Big Vape is a new documentary. I believe that's Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't smoke. I only smoke cigarettes for like a year and a half out of my life. But we just love documentaries, so it kind of caught my attention, and it was just interesting to see how many different things they had to go through. I think they started production in like 2005. They spent over like $50 million to even get their product from the first iteration of itself, which didn't do well at all. It turned into eventually what became PAX, which was real big in the cannabis community, but that's not the product they was trying to create. And then finally, Juul popped off in 2017. So they had done all this work on the production. They had done all this work as far as marketing and promotion. And it was to the point where it's like, look, if this don't pop off now, it's nothing else we could do. Our investors is about to tap out. And right when they hit that point where they had exhausted possibility, all of a sudden, word of mouth and all the seeds they had planted got it to the point that Juul became a household phenomenon and a household name rather in 2017, from 2005 to 2017. So sometimes when you listen to Spirit, it don't look like it's in accordance with what your particular timeline may be. But sometimes you plant that seed and it won't blossom for 6 months, a year, 2 years later, but it's going to happen when it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yep. That's beautiful.
We drunk right now, and it's not because of the watermelon juice. My watermelon juice is not spiked. You want to tell them why we drunk right now?
Yeah. Today is a full. What type of eclipse is this? It's not a solar eclipse. Is it a lunar eclipse?
It's different than both of those. Let me see.
Yeah, so-
Annular or something like that.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'll find it.
Today we
Annular
had
solar eclipse.
annular solar eclipse, and I was sitting on the bed. We were getting ready to record, and I was getting ready, and I'm like, "Dang, it's dark in here." And then he came upstairs, and I was like, "Is it dark to you?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, it's really dark." But he instantly remembered the eclipse, and it's something we've been speaking about throughout the week. A lot of things have led up to this being a memorable moment for us to just kind of highlight. So we went outside and soaked up all the energy of this eclipse.
Well, you can't even go there first.
No.
Nah, you got to start with 6 days ago, where you haven't done a fast since I moved down here.
Yeah.
You've developed, and y'all have heard us talk about it numerous times on the podcast, but you're in a beautiful rhythm right now as far as your food.
Yeah.
And it's been almost about 6 months since you did your last fast, and all of a sudden, about 6 days ago, what did you say?
What did I say?
I think I need to do a fast.
Yeah, I
And
did.
And you said, I'm going to do a 10-day fast, which ain't crazy. She's done 90s,
Yeah.
30s, and all of that. So I'm like, all right, do what you feel like you need to do. And in the midst of that, I think 3 days in,
Yeah.
maybe even 4, it wasn't even really like you were starving or anything like that. You were seeing me eat every day,
Yeah.
smelling good, looking good, but it wasn't breaking you. And at a certain point, you said, you know what? I think I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And even you going back and forth within your own spirit, like, is this my ego trying to tap out, or is
Right.
this the new version of me that realizes I don't got to go full throttle to conjure the type of healing and openness to my spirit that I need? So you was able to say, you know what, I'm gonna eat.
Yeah, and that was really huge for me because I am a Libra. My birthday was September 30th. I just turned 34. Happy birthday to me. Shout out to everybody who came to my birthday party and showed me so much love. I really appreciate it. We had a great time. But this was so huge for me because I'm a Libra, the scales balance, which is typically where I am not. And trying to have like that perfect balance is something that I've always struggled with until I recognize that the attempt to constantly be balanced is not necessary, and no one's asking me to do that. So that was something I had to overcome. But the idea of I'm either all the way in or I'm all the way out. It's either extreme and excessive, or it's absolutely nothing at all. So the 90-day, the 30, the 60-day was just me being that excessive, extreme, all the way in or all the way out. And I think that this choosing to do 10 days and then getting to 4 days and hearing my spirit say, I think you've done what you were supposed to do, and you can continue eating in a more balanced way, which is like the salads and the juices and things like that.
And you've been on that anyway, so it's not even like more balanced.
Right, exactly. So I think it was huge for me to say, even for 10, because like my ego is like 10 days.
That ain't nothing.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't doing nothing in no 10 days. This is what that voice is saying. You ain't doing nothing in 10 days. Ain't nothing healing in 10 days. You ain't releasing nothing in 10 days. You already know that it's 30, 60, or 90 where you hit the max of what you can do. And even though for certain situations that is true, my spirit told me 4 is enough. And for me to listen to my spirit saying 4 is enough was a huge sign that I'm no longer in that pattern of having to have excessive, forceful ways of honoring myself.
Yeah, and then when you enter that space, you got more room to play. And you even are able to realize that the intention may have started as, all right, let's heal again.
Yeah.
Let's give our body what it needs, but you get 4 days in and you're like, the 90, 60, 30 theory, maybe this wasn't what that was for.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not about deep cleansing and healing. Maybe it's just about, I got the compulsion to get to day 4 and realize I now have the ability to pivot, to change my mind, to realize this ain't about me maxing out. And that creates the malleability that turned into what we just was able to experience outside. And it wasn't just the fasting, your cycle.
Yeah. I always start my cycle either on a full moon or a new moon, birthday. Like, there's always something specific happening when I start my cycle.
Right, so you got the cycle, you got the fasting. She's working through the belief that she don't do well with pineapple juice. Before I moved down here, she juices all type of stuff. So I guess she felt like giving pineapple juice a full throttle go, and she just juiced like 90 something ounces of pineapple juice, and it ripped her. And she, from that point, I said, you know what? I can't drink pineapple juice. Yeah. She started to realize I could play with it a little bit more than you realized. But we just juiced the other day, and you put a lot of pineapple juice in everything, right? Yeah. That has been going through us and purging us from the inside out in ways Wayne didn't really ask for. We was just trying to juice. Right. So we wake up today, you at the tail end of pineapple juice giving you a natural colonic, both of us natural colonics.
I was toe down last night.
You still on your cycle?
I'm like...
Spotting and all that? All right. See, I know the vibes.
I know this right.
You're coming off the energy of your cycle and all that cleansing. You're coming off of the fast. And we come into today knowing we need to do this podcast. You came from jogging with your friends, feeling good, energy bursting. I have been in a very meditative space while you've been gone, cleaning the house, making sure everything is in order. You came back, you took your shower. I took my shower, so we were both purified. And right when we was about to set everything up, looking out the window like, yo, why is it dark in here? Mind you, as light as it is in here right now, at least an hour ago, it looked like Gotham City. Right. And in that moment, it's like, oh, snap, the eclipse. Yeah. So we go put our stuff on, we go outside. And the reason we even wanted to share this part of it is because the intimacy, we always talk about intimacy with each other. I think what draws a lot. And the reason we even bring this up is because we talk a lot about intimacy with each other. A lot of people check in for us because, I mean, when you're talking about social media and what cuts through, I don't think anything cuts through more than people's desire to find the one, soulmates, love, relationships. People are lonely in 2023. So our relationship stuff does cut through tremendously. But for us to even be able to have this intimacy with each other, we had to be listening to our spirit in ways where source, the universe, the world, life is able to present intimacy to us in different ways. So we've had all these things, and this happens all the time. This is just the latest example, but we've had all these different things throughout the course of the week stack up in a way where in that moment, it's like go outside and we sit in that energy. And you want to describe what it felt like?
Yeah. So initially I was describing it as a picture that a person is editing and they're attempting to get the color right. Because everything is normal. The greens are still green, the blues are still blues, but they are more enhanced and they're darker at the same time.
And the
So
sun is out.
right.
Sun is on full force. It's a sunny day, but it's like the light is not making it to us, and it's low key cold while we was out there
Right.
because the heat isn't even really making it to us because of the blockage.
Exactly. So it was odd, but it felt so good. The energy felt so good, like tingling, like floating. But then you had us do an exercise. Tell them about the exercise.
Yeah, because as we were sitting there, and we didn't even anticipate being there as long as we did because it was time to film, but it's like, all right, let's just sneak out and see what it looked like. And as soon as we sat down, both our feet, bare feet planted in the soil, it's like, yeah, you feel that? She's like, yeah, I feel like we can feel the waves of this energy coming into us. And some people could have sat right next to us and not felt it.
Right.
It's a matter of where you are in your cleansing process and how open you are to subtle energy, because a lot of the cosmic and universal energy, what people experience when they go deep into meditation, is based on you incrementally and gradually working your system into a place where you can receive that energy. It's times where I'm just sitting here by myself. I can feel the energy in the walls. I can feel the energy in the invisible oxygen. Not everybody is to that point. Don't make me better. Don't make us better or worse. We've just done that work to be open to it, to that level of intimacy. So as I'm asking her, can you feel that? It kind of just took over us. And we just sat there for a good probably half an hour when we supposed to be recording. We got plans for tomorrow. We got things to do. But it just kind of took over us. And at a certain point, being that you got the sun and the moon overlapping, right? These two energies that don't usually meet in these ways.
Yeah.
We have a moment where we could feel their energies overlap. And for whatever reason, it kind of opened me up to the idea of all the different iterations in my soul. Past versions of Docs in this life, other versions of my soul in other dimensions and other parallel universes. I could feel all of these mergings happen at once. And I indicated to her, give yourself some time. Let's give ourselves some time to just sit with every single nook, cranny, crevice of our soul, every different version and layer of ourself. This is our opportunity, because it felt like different dimensions were merging in that moment, because just how the world looked to us. And people is driving by oblivious, Houston, everybody blasting their music. It's Saturday. It's like it didn't exist to anybody but us. The birds flying over, the hawk. It was a moment of deep, deep, divine intimacy. So we sat there, we closed our eyes, and we literally reached out to every version of ourselves. When we came out of that thing, I'll be honest, I didn't want to do this podcast right now because we both came out of it drunk and dripping with that energy. And it's just an indication before we get into the topic. A lot of us don't get to the soulmate, don't get to the career or whatever top shelf desire your soul has on his mantle. We don't get there because we're missing these little opportunities where source is saying, go that way, do this, prepare this way, fast. I got cut yesterday. I bled out. I had a blood sacrifice. Didn't even realize what it was leading up to. We aren't able.
We both bled.
Wow. Dang. That's crazy. When you get to the point where you are no longer oblivious because you're so inundated in survival, now your antenna is always up for how is source, how is God, how is the universe going to show up and love on me today, right? That antenna goes up, and once you open to it, you realize day in and day out, pleasure or pain, there's always some expression of that divine love to you. And a lot of times we miss that. And if you miss those opportunities, that's low key what's trying to guide you to be in the right place at the right time, 1,400 miles away. Whatever you was doing when you saw my first live, whatever I was doing when I saw you on September 30th on your birthday, we don't get to those pockets of alignment to eventually come together without picking up on all these different ways sources like, I need you right here, right now, in this moment to give you that love you asking for until the quote unquote mate shows up.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Right.
I agree. I don't even have anything to add to that.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So, and then also you talked about your birthday. So
they don't even know, like I cut my hair, like I'm a whole new person.
Oh yeah, right we're going to talk about it. I'm just realizing in this moment that moment low key was a culmination of the past like 3 weeks of gifts that you have been given.
Yes.
Not just from me, from Beyonce, from me, from your friends. Let's talk about a little bit about your birthday before we actually get into the topic. I know the first thing you need to do as far as birthday talk.
Go ahead. Oh, y'all. Oh, okay. So I relaunched my skincare line, Sasha Flowers Skincare Intimacy, because we are highlighting that the intimacy that comes with skincare and nurturing ourselves and loving on ourselves. So that has officially relaunched. You can go to sashaflowers.com and you can look through the entire site and you can purchase and order, and all of the orders will be out really soon. So I've had a lot of things that have happened the past 2.5 weeks. We had Beyonce concert, which
I
was fire.
survived.
He had a great time too.
Facts. The greatest show on earth.
Yes, he survived. He had a great time, and I love that in our relationship, that we are open to learning what each other likes, because you have a lot of relationships where people are like, nah, I don't like
I ain't
that.
going to see Beyonce.
Yeah,
I ain't watching no
exactly.
battle
I ain't
rap.
watching no battle rap. Like I'm not doing that. And so for me to now be a huge battle rap fan and for you to be so open to learning the ins and outs of, why I love Beyonce and going to the concert with me and, dressing up with me, allowing me to dress you, which I think I did
Oh, no,
fire.
you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so we had that experience together. And then from there,
But hold up. Even before that experience, when did she drop? When did all the beehive start going crazy trying to get tickets? That was a good 6 months ago.
oh yeah.
So even this, right? You of course attempted to get online. You and your whole crew of friends, like, all right, we're gonna do it like this so
Yep.
we can get our tickets. None of it worked,
None.
right? And you were a huge Beyonce fan. You used to be a stan.
Yeah.
You're a grown woman in your own flex at this point, so
For sure.
you need some of that energy to love on you. But you're
sure.
still a big Beyonce fan.
Yeah.
You surrendered. It is what it is. I ain't about to break the bank and do all this extra stuff to see it. Maybe next time it'll happen.
Yeah.
Like maybe 2-3 weeks later, you saw opportunity and you ain't even had to pay an arm and a leg to
Right.
get our tickets.
Yeah.
But you had no idea at that point it was going to line up to be like the first layer of the gifts for your birthday.
No idea. It was just like, you know what? This is her. All of her concerts are a once in a lifetime experience because you don't know if you're going to be able to go to the next one. So it was like, you know what? I want to honor myself. I would really like for you to experience it. So I'm just going to get the tickets. These were the resale tickets. So these were the ones that they priced higher. But even with the price, it wasn't crazy high. And it was exactly where I wanted to sit. Our seats were
Fire.
perfect. So we were right in the middle, right at the bottom, but elevated enough to where we saw everything. So we just had perfect seats, but I did not know that also was going to be a birthday gift to myself.
And probably in that time frame, let's say we argued at some point within there. I don't remember, but there was something during that, let's say 2 weeks of you trying to get those tickets where you ain't feel good, where some level of pain or challenge presented itself. It'd be these types of moments where we feel like, man, life is busting my ass or whatever it is, where God, universe, source is saying, I'm going to play this chess game where in this moment, you don't even realize that this purchase that you surrendered to, that you waited for, is going to be the first layer of your birthday activity and energy. We don't be realizing how much chess is going into what's going to be the ways that God is going to show up and give us intimacy. Sometimes it's 6 months in advance. Sometimes it's 6 years in advance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a death in the family or a loss of a job. That's the specific chess piece that needs to be moved for you to have a beautiful moment way down the line in ways you can't see. So that's why a lot of this journey is like walking in the dark forest and you can't see more than a step in front of you. So many of us want to be able to pull out some level of a flashlight via what we call planning or strategizing. I need to know what's going to be next. I need to be able to control some of this. When you relinquish control, that's when that trust level goes up because you start to realize I can't see where I'm going, but I keep ending up in the right spots.
Right. And the other part of that is a lot of people don't trust their decision making.
Right.
And so if it resonates with your spirit, just go with it. Just do it. I mean, only one or two things going to happen. Either you're going to recognize, you know what, that wasn't the best decision. And you're going to learn from that. or it's going to work out perfectly. And you honoring your decision is also you honoring your intuition, honoring your spirit, and honoring God guiding you in the perfect way.
So you win regardless,
Exactly.
right? As long as you have the proper perspective. And then from that point, after we enjoyed Beyonce, then it was time to plan first for you, a milestone, which was
planning my first birthday party by me. And so this was huge because I spoke about when I was young. I had a friend of me really since like 4th grade to senior year in high school. But when we were in like the 7th grade, it was my birthday. And I was always pretty well known in school. I had a lot of friends and I was quote unquote popular. So I knew people would come to my party, but I was still afraid that they wouldn't come. And so I told everyone I was throwing a birthday party. And at this time, me and my friend of me, we were not on good terms. And she decided to throw a birthday party the exact same day, or a party. It wasn't her birthday. She just decided to throw a party the exact same day of my birthday party and at the same time. And this made me feel so many emotions. And looking back, this was a traumatic experience because it's the first time I remember, will people love me enough to show up for me? Am I important enough? Am I valued enough? Am I worthy enough? Will people show up for me? And the idea of if they do not show up for me, if they do not choose me, now that I'm saying that, because you know that I always connected me not feeling chosen to my dad because he was an alcoholic and he chose that lifestyle. So I connected her having that party. It was like, will people choose me or will they choose her? And if they choose her, then that means that I am not worthy to be loved. I'm not liked and no one will, love me. So anytime it's time for me to throw an event or anything, it's like, what if nobody comes? What if nobody shows up? Even when my husband came to Houston finally and we would have an event, I would just be so terrified because my thing is, what if nobody comes? And he's like, what if nobody comes? They coming. We just got to make sure everything is put together. So to see another person have that level of confidence was like, oh, this is my fear. This is not people's average fear. And so when it was time to throw my birthday party, I even cried to you because I was overwhelmed and it was scary. And your question was, what is behind the fear? And I had to just say and acknowledge and own, I'm afraid that if people don't come, I'm not going to feel loved. And so I acknowledged that. And then I also told people what the fear was. So they had a clear idea. And it was also my way of not allowing that fear to own me.
calling the demon by its name.
Exactly. And so from that, everybody and their mama came.
Of course, you lit.
Everybody and their mama came. And I was able to have a moment with that 7th grade version of myself and remind her, you see that narrative that we've been holding for so long, it's not true. And you see that fear that we've been holding on for so long, it's never been true. When I was younger, everybody did come to my birthday party, but they left so they could go to my friend's birthday party so they could attend both. And that made me feel really inferior and not loved halfway. And so now it's like, okay, the fear was there. And I, once everybody came, I really had to just continue revisiting the moments of everybody pouring love into me and sending that love to the 7th grade version of myself.
And it's so deep as far as that universal chess we also talking about. There's multiple schemes happening in this conversation for my battle rap page. Y'all know the vibes. But the first surprise party I had, you threw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Almost 4 years ago at this point, she threw me my first surprise party. And that, I always wanted one. Like, I mean, who don't want a surprise party?
Yeah.
But, it just had never happened at that point in my life. And at that point in our journey, you was like really big on getting me to see my worth. You was also really integral in my circle, realizing I'm somebody to be poured
Revere.
into in the way that you
Absolutely.
poured into me. You felt like I deserved that. So to have that turn into when I get down here and your birthday was coming up, I'm like, I forgot who told me. I think maybe Sam. Maybe no, I think Wintress told me. She like, yeah, you know, Candace never had a surprise party. I'm like, oh, all right, it's lit, right? And at that point, you were still working through being open to, you know, people that's not your like immediate lifelong circle.
For sure.
So I knew it needed to be intimate, but
Yeah.
I also was able to return that favor, if you will, and plant that seed in your spirit of you having something that was specifically just about you, not you showing up to do business. We just gonna honor your life.
Yeah.
And we had our circle, we had your mom, Tim, and all of them. We made the collages and all of
Yeah.
that, took you through the journey of your life. So those seeds being planted, it really started with you loving on quote unquote me, your future husband at that point, because I hadn't even proposed yet.
Yeah.
But the level of love that you was willing to give me in that way was indirectly already being given to yourself, because
Yeah.
it took almost 3 years for you give me the surprise party, I give you the surprise party, and then we come all the way full circle for you to like really step into the fact that I'm worthy. This is not. How old were you at that point?
31.
No. During high school and all of that when that happened.
Oh man, I was probably like 13.
13, 31. This is
Yeah.
not 13-year-old version of Candace. This is somebody with 133,000 followers and people that swear by what you have to say. And I understand at a certain point, your audience was predominantly virtual.
Yeah.
You know, being the hood nigga from Newark, I come through stomping on the grassroots on the ground. We're gonna take it to the streets. But now starting to realize like, nah, my community does not have to be relegated to online.
Yeah.
To actually pushing a button and saying, you know what, I'm gonna make this about myself. And if they don't show up, so be it. But I'm gonna trust the universe to give whatever I'm supposed to receive in that moment. You was prepared for nobody to RSVP.
Yes.
So
Very.
it wasn't like I'm gonna go into this and I know they're gonna show up. You was just open to however the universe needed to play out. And of course, you talking about, yeah, we're gonna have 30 people. It's like 100 people in here today, of which I knew it was gonna be. That's why I kept asking, how many people is coming? Y'all should have seen me in here trying to move furniture around and all this different stuff. But it was exactly what that little girl was asking for. And it took
was.
almost 20 years for you to just shed the belief system.
Yep.
And before I hand the keys over to you, there was a moment in the party, I actually put up a post about it, where everybody starts to spontaneously sing happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
And up until that point, you know, she has a flow for how she wants her party to go. So low key, she's still being a practitioner. She's still making sure people connect. She her drill sergeant. All right, we doing this, that, and the third. I'm like, all right, at a certain point, source gonna break you open and it's gonna make it about you. But as she's giving people commands, everybody's sitting down, and I don't know who sparked it. Happy birthday comes, right? And not only did they sing the black version of Happy Birthday in totality, they sang a version I never even heard of after it. So we talking about 4 to 5 minutes of her being the center of attention after going 33 years of never allowing yourself to be in that space.
Yeah.
And having to sit there and receive 360 degrees of love from every direction. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Right? So I see her tensing up. I see her trying to act like she's okay with this. And it's not that she wasn't. She didn't know, hasn't built the muscle to be able to actually receive that. Sometimes people tell us, I love you, I'm proud of you, and it don't even really cut through to your heart, to your spirit, because we got to actually develop that muscle. So towards the end of it, I walked over to her, I'm like, look, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Receive this. People go whole lifetimes and never have a moment like this. Receive this.
Yeah.
She did so for a few seconds, but afterwards we was able to talk about the fact that she realized, I don't know how to receive that level yet. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, that was a lot. And it was me orchestrating, because, you know, we had a live band, we had sound bowls, we had our sister Tony Jones was here. So there was a flow of how everything was supposed to go, which allowed me to hide. It allowed me to be busy. It allowed me to do things. And the experience was kind of for everybody else.
Right. I noticed it the whole time.
The experience was for everybody else. I just wanted to do it, you know? And so when they started singing me happy birthday, I was like, oh, snap. Because what am I supposed to do with my hands? You know what I'm saying? I'm standing there and they singing, and I recognize, whoa, this is not easy.
Right.
My whole body started
Right.
to feel uncomfortable. If you go to his page and look at this video, my arms are so tense and I look like a little kid that just does not know what to do.
And still has a smile on her face. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I just did not know what to do and I couldn't receive it. It was almost painful.
Was the smile obligatory? You feel like that's what you were supposed to do in that moment?
No, it wasn't obligatory. It was a genuine I'm uncomfortable
Okay.
smile.
Okay.
And I was uncomfortable because, you know, people give us love all the time. And, you know, tell us how much we've changed their lives and, you know, how much we love them. And that doesn't go to my ego. That doesn't feed anything that I do. But I'm grateful for it and I hear it and I do receive it. But my ego doesn't need to like for it to pierce the center of my being. So to have love in increments like that from people, it's like, thank you. You know, I received that. But to have all of this love from all of these people coming at one time, that concentrated love was like, whoa. I actually don't know how to receive love of this magnitude and not shift my eyes. I couldn't run. I couldn't hide. I couldn't deflect. I couldn't do anything to change the fact that you are the center of attention. We love you and you don't have an option but to receive it. And so afterwards, the next day and that night, I had to continue visualizations to go back to that moment and allow 7th grade me, 34-year-old me to continue to receive it because it was just so overwhelming in that moment. I didn't have the capacity.
And as you're saying that, certain things are coming up. So it's a few different dimensions to it. We know, having worked with, you know, ego for so long, and I probably have mentioned this before, but I'm going to remind people, at least from my perspective, the ego isn't an entity. It's not an actual static structure or thing. The ego is more so a reflex of how we perceive our place in this world. It's largely developed on the I thought. So all the different mental traffic that's going through your mind moment to moment is usually preceded by that one word, which is I. I'm doing, I'm hearing, I want, so on and so forth. And before you know it, we're accommodating for this entity that we think it is, but it's really just repetitive thought, repetitive belief in that little letter that we call I. So when you start to break out of that, you realize the ego don't like, you can't go anywhere in the universe and say that's where the ego is.
Right.
It's all in here, right? But with that being said, you're able to expose it the more distance you create from that reflex. And initially, people usually come to healing because whatever that reflex of the ego is doing is causing chaos in their life, right? Things get bad and like, yo, I need to heal. I need to get rid of my ego. But then you start to do some of that work. And the reflex of the ego is cunning enough to evolve with your evolvement.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting that you said you are at the point where you don't need the praise to make or break you. But even that is very tricky because, as you say, I don't need it to pierce the center of my being. You may not need it, but why not allow it? And, and it's like more of a rhetorical question as I'm thinking about it. So that's not anything you need to answer. But the evolved ego will get in the way of you fully receiving that love because it's like, you know, I'm evolved. I'm wise now. I don't need this people telling me how great I am, and it will block you from allowing those moments of love to truly pierce to the core of your being as you deserve to allow them to do so.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a matter of like really trying to catch the trickery of the ego as it evolves with your healing. And then the other aspect of it is with the belief systems. You had already shared the belief of the fear of nobody showing up for me stops me from showing up for myself and allowing myself to be loved. You broke that program just by having a party. So that aspect of the belief system had already disintegrated as people is walking through the door. But the totality of belief systems, they usually have multiple different layers. They break off in different increments at different times. So as you were standing there in that moment trying to receive happy birthday, it was a more nuanced level of the belief system. that I have to go to a deeper level of myself to receive this love. So people could do all the ayahuasca, people could go to all the retreats, do all the yoga in the world. Unless you take the time, and this is why I say this is why meditation is so important, unless you take the time to start to defund the mind, and this is what meditation is about, those belief systems will continue to feed. They won't have the luxury of moments where you go beyond thought. Every time you create gaps and divots in your consciousness, when you go into the meditative state and it's not the constant, what I got to do tomorrow, what am I going to do today? You're not thinking so much about thought. You start to create space between the thoughts like I've talked about. Without that defunding, the belief system stays firm. The belief system stays strong, and it'll show up in moments where you kind of oblivious and you don't even realize it's not that this is reality. I've made this a reality by continuously funding this belief system in ways I'm not even conscious of. So a large part of the healing process is getting to the point where beyond the sage and the chakra work and all this different stuff, we got to go here. We got to first recognize, what things do I believe about myself? What things do I believe about the world around me, and how do those interact? Once you're able to see those, you start to able to defund the ones that's blocking you from being able to receive love.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So in the party, another aspect, another layer unfolds.
Yeah.
And you're wearing it on your hand right now.
Yes, I am. Look at this, y'all. This man. First of all, so it was my birthday. Before my birthday, I cut my hair. He cut my hair for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of love transaction. That video is also on our Instagram account.
Well, hold up. Talk about how that happened. Again, that wasn't a conscious thought.
It was not. I went and got my hair done. It was spray dyed and laid to the side. And it was beautiful. And then it was time to take it out.
And even that was you honoring certain levels of yourself that had kind of veered away from that level of feminine luxury.
Yes. I wanted to play. I wanted to have a long hairstyle, middle part. And it was beautiful. I felt extremely beautiful. And it was like, okay, I'm about to start getting my hair done and, having, the inches. Yeah. So it was time for me to take the hair out. And a lot of my hair came out with it. A lot. To the point I was like, oh, Lord, I can't walk around like this.
Oh, no. Hell no.
Y'all done up and done it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there like, oh, my gosh, I'm a chicken head. My husband's about to come home and I ain't got no hair. And so I FaceTime him and he's like, I'm FaceTiming you while you're out getting my birthday gift.
Yes, I'm in Virginia. My mother had a surgery, so I was just going to be present for her. And I was at an outlet about to go get her birthday gift. And she FaceTimes me and I'm walking around. As I'm looking down, I don't see her. So I'm like, yo, where you at? And she was like, I'm like, you look like you hiding. She said, I am. I'm like, yo, why are you hiding? She was like, because I don't have no hair. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she told me what happened. I'm like, let me see you, bro. So she like inches her way onto the camera. And the first thing I said was like, all right, I guess it's time. She like, time for what? Like, if you're not comfortable with it, maybe it's time to cut it. And it's interesting. Let me come closer to the mic. It's interesting because we have talked about you cutting your hair previously. And it wasn't like I told you no.
Right.
I don't stand in the way of what you feel like you need to do. I just express like, yo, I love your hair.
Yeah.
I love when you in your little slick back, your Pat Riley, you just got your normal ponytail. I love that.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the first thing that my spirit indicated was, it's probably time for you to step into a new journey. And even before I said it, I already saw you.
Yeah.
You showed me pictures of when you cut it in the past, which was 10 years ago, almost to the date.
Yes.
Right. And we'll get to that.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, the picture, of course, don't register how I saw you in my mind when I'm like, you know what? I need the whole space for her. She looked like she was about to cry. She was scared, thinking I'm about to leave her because she bald headed now, right? And I'm like, nah, let's just cut it. And as I'm saying it, I'm like, yo, you about to look. I didn't say this, but I could see it in my mind. I'm like, yo, she about to look crazy right now with this haircut. So I was already excited. But that turned into you having another layer shed before you even got to your birthday.
Yeah, because I've always said I want to cut my hair again. I've always wanted to do that, but it's a big decision. And it's not just a decision to cut your hair. That's also an emotional and spiritual decision. And one of the things that I said when you were like, it might be time. One, I was shocked that you said that. And then it was like, well, I have his support. What do I feel? And the first thing I said was, I thought that it would be more of my decision, not something that I would have to do based on my hair falling out.
Right.
And then even sitting with that, it was more of, well, that's how things work. Sometimes you need that push.
That was control. That was when to do it on your terms.
Exactly. When you felt comfortable. And sometimes you need that push.
Say comfortable again?
Comfortable.
I love how you say comfortable. Oh my God.
What I say the other day when you was like, nah, that's too country. What I say? I said, what you gonna get? Is that what I said?
What all y'all gonna get?
Yeah, what all y'all gonna get? Sometimes I just get super country and there's no holding back. But I recognize that this was the push for me to step into the new phase of myself. And then once I started, sitting with it more, look back at my old pictures, the exact same week, 10 years ago, for my birthday is when I cut my hair the first time. So much confirmation that it was time again to step into a new version of myself, which can get exhausting because every few months I'm evolving into another version of myself. And with that, you have to evolve to that version. You have to meet that version, meet the frequency of that version of yourself, which requires you to make changes and transitions and fast and to be in tune with certain things.
And it's on multiple levels. It's aesthetic, it's career, it's intention, it's purpose, it's everything.
And all of this while I'm simultaneously launching my skincare line. So it was a lot. It was a lot going on.
And you had just became a photographer. There's so much different things that was starting to attach themselves to you in ways that you didn't ask for. You wasn't consciously saying, I want to become a photographer. People was trying to overcharge you. Like, you know what? It's probably going to cost less for me to go get my own camera. So now she's a professional photographer, right? So going into the energy of your birthday, you had shed all that energy of all this work you've done from 24 years old going into your 34th year. And even with the numerology of it, I always recommend this book, Numerology and the Divine Triangle. And there's a certain chapter of this book where they go through 0 to 9 and what the different frequencies of these numbers represent. And 9 going into 10. 10 isn't a new number. It's not the continuation of 9. It's a fresh stage. It's a fresh phase. You've completed the task. You've gathered the information you needed to from a 0 to 9 stage. And now you're ready to build on that by going to a new level of yourself. Yeah. So for all that to align within a 10-year pattern and getting back to the point where you could have never planned all these things that have happened in your life for the last 10 years to say, you know what, 10th year anniversary, I'm cutting it again. It was nothing like that. But still came out in that level of alignment at a point where you are in the highest frequency of yourself you've ever been able to experience. So you coming in fresh and clean. You got your cuts, you got your parts. I had got my hair cut.
Yeah.
And then after you were willing to, you didn't know how to receive it yet, but you didn't run away from it.
Yeah.
You were willing to stand in there like a linebacker with your tension and all of that.
Not a linebacker.
You didn't run. And as a result, you didn't even realize that when you had hid from me on the phone when you was bald headed, you didn't know that I was planning on upgrading your ring.
I didn't.
And it's dope for my fellas. You know, a lot of times brothers would be like, yo, good women is not out here. And it's really a matter of what frequency you in is going to determine the type of world you're going to experience. There's no other Candace in this world, but it's a lot of good women that's not concerned with how much money you make, that's not going to judge you because you work a regular 9 to 5. I happen to do enough work to gravitate to one of these women. And she never asked me, so we getting married. She never
Yeah.
asked me, so what are we? We never had the what are we conversation,
Never.
right? She put no levels of pressure on me. And I could have just, brothers would be engaged or be
Facts.
girlfriend and boyfriend for 10, 15 years. If
Yeah.
you ain't saying nothing, I ain't saying nothing because we don't want that pressure. But we was in a different vibration. And I knew at a certain point, actually, largely in part to, it was already bubbling in my spirit. But when you threw me the surprise party, and when you did the Bible ritual for me,
Yeah.
that solidified it. I felt like you was my wife from the day we really start talking.
Yeah.
I wasn't pursuing it in that way because I thought I was supposed to just, have a new friend.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew low key. Like brothers ask me all the time, how did you know? It's even beyond knowledge. It was just like, so it's like, no, this what you doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, it's lit. Let's get it.
Right.
But for her to be in a space where I knew there was going to be no judgment of the fact that it wasn't gold. It wasn't diamonds, right? I got something that was within my budget at the time. That was still, I spent a considerable amount of money on our rings at the time, but it wasn't diamond ring level money, right? And it was more so about what she represented, what we represented, the green amethyst.
Yeah.
How we have opened each other's heart. Of course, the heart chakra is green and amethyst has a lot to do with heart chakra energy. All that intention went into the ring. But I knew she wasn't going to judge me. I knew she was going to love that ring. I forgot the line in one of my songs where I was talking about you wear it like it's a million diamonds on it anyway,
Yeah.
because of how much we love each other. And from that point, you never said, you know what, I think it's time for a new ring. The only thing that she had brought up, I lost the other part of my ring in Jersey going to visit my son. And the other day, she was like, you know what? It's probably time for us to get some new rings. More so talking about the fact I lost mine.
Right,
You wasn't even worried about yourself.
Yeah.
But being that she's so hard to shop for, when I'm in Virginia, I'm like, all right, what could I get her? I'm like, oh, yeah, she did mention the rings. Looked at my little bank account. I'm doing well in life right now. I think I could go make some things happen. So I went and got this little fancy number that's on her finger right now. I spent 2 hours in Zales trying to figure out the perfect one. And she had no idea at her birthday party, I was going to recommit and rededicate and I guess re-ask for her hand in matrimony in our union.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear from your perspective, like how you've been able to exist in such a pure space where I love, where you have never had to judge any of those things, where the world tells you it's supposed to happen a certain way. If he a good man, if he a real man, you're supposed to have them carrots. You're supposed to have them diamonds. You never took that approach with me.
Yeah.
How was that experience, me putting that thing on your finger in front of a room full of people, as opposed to us being on Honeymoon Beach and it just being us? You've gotten to have both those experiences within the past 2 years. How's that been from your perspective?
Yeah. I think one of the things for me, being on my healing journey, that takes you into conspiracy theories. It takes you into government, anatomy, and
Aliens.
Yeah, metaphysics, all of those things. But one of the main things that it should guide you to do is learn how to think for yourself and create your own paradigms to where you may be the only person that follows that book because that is the book that works for you. It don't matter if everybody else in the world does something different. You know what resonates with your spirit. And that was something that I have done from day one. I had the capacity to think for myself and I knew what makes sense for me. So when you gave me my ring and we were on Honeymoon Beach, it was a no-brainer. I didn't give a damn. I'm frolicking around our little beach house. I could care less whether it was a diamond ring or the green amethyst ring. And I'm actually having deja vu right now.
Me too.
Yeah. So I was just deeply in love with you, with my ring, with the gesture, with the intention, especially because I never thought that I would experience our level of love, matrimony, commitment. It just was not on my radar.
We kept saying we don't want no relationship. We ain't trying to get married.
Exactly. We started off saying all of those things. So it never even crossed my mind to have a quote unquote diamond ring. It wasn't necessary for me.
That's crazy. It never even crossed your mind.
No, it wasn't necessary for me. And you saw how I wore this ring. I cried the first time I forgot it at home.
Right.
It means so much to me. It's like a part of who I am now. And so when we're at the party and, you know, it's towards the middle part, but by this time I'm really just letting go. I'm not trying to force a whole lot of things because we're like towards the end of the party, so I can enjoy myself. And we're sitting down having the panel with you and I and Tony Jones. And then somebody asked a question, and the way that you answer the question, I'm like, now when he gonna get to the point? Because this starting to sound like it's about me and you. And then I feel a shift. I feel a shift in like you talking to me. So now
Everybody disappeared in that moment.
everybody disappeared, and I'm just honing in on how much you were pouring into me and loving me in that moment. And you offering me the ring at that point. First of all, I didn't know what you was doing. Even when I saw the
The
ring
box.
box, it still didn't register in my mind that you was about to get down on both knees. And then when you opened it and I saw the diamond ring, it was like, I didn't even ask for this, but this is beautiful. You know, it was so exciting because you love me so much that you hear parts of myself that I probably would never even allow myself
Right.
to ask for a diamond ring, because I just never felt like it was something that I needed. I didn't even feel like the first ring was something that I needed. But the part of you that hears, no, but this is what you deserve.
Right.
This is what I want you to have. And I know once you get it, you're going to love it. So hearing the parts of myself that also may still be blocked to the level of receiving love that I can have the capacity to hold, you're still opening that door and like, nah, you deserve love in this way. I know that you are okay with love in this way. I know that you're accepting of love in this way. But as long as I have it within my power, I'm going to continue elevating the way that I have the capacity to love you. And when I opened the box and saw the ring is gorgeous, but it still wasn't about the ring. It was about the fact that you just innately know what is going to brighten up every part of my being. And you having the thought process to say, this is how I'm going to honor us in this moment moving forward. Like that was huge for me. I was literally in shock. I'm still in shock. Like y'all have no idea how I'm just looking at the ring. And I just sitting up like this, letting the sun shine on it, trying to have it hit the light and stuff so I can see all the, you know, the different colors and stuff. So it's never been difficult for me to receive how you love me, whether it is the way that society says or whether it's just our way. It's always been easy because it don't matter to me. If you would have offered me a paper ring,
A ring pop, like
listen,
you said.
I would have been wearing that ring pop because it's about you and I. It's not about the ring. It just is very pretty.
And I think like one of my favorite aspects of initiating and again, like it wasn't a traditional proposal because I promised from very early to keep you free.
Yeah.
That promise is still right here. Like, you know, I always say people can't even fathom because of how close we are at this point. But if she was to wake up tomorrow and say, my spirit is telling me I need to go a different direction, it's gonna mess me up. I was about to say the F word. It's gonna mess me up. But I'm a still accommodate and nurture whatever she feels like whatever you feel like you need for yourself.
Yeah.
So keeping you free, but also juggling and balancing part of my purpose in your life, which is to gracefully and delicately push you forward. And not even as far as like career, you blowing up and stuff like that. You good on that on your own. I mean, as far as you opening up to receiving more levels of love. So I think the thing I'm most proud of in these two different occasions is after Honeymoon Beach and being on both knees under the stars and the moon and the darkness, after we was able to like really talk about it, I asked you, is that something you even realize you wanted and or needed? You was like, nah.
Yeah.
You didn't even realize you wanted or needed it. We was both saying, I don't want a relationship. I don't never want to get married.
Right.
Look at what we will have missed out on. if we would
Yeah.
have continued to adhere to that and been rigid in that approach.
Yeah.
Just like you was able to break your fast, we was able to break our fast with that belief system
Yep.
that marriage is not what's going to be best for me, with what I know now about spirit and energy and people. And then again, I was able to share you opening up to another level of love. And I asked you the other day, does this compare to that moment in Honeymoon Beach where you realized I did need that? My spirit did want that. And you was able to say the same thing as far as the diamond ring. So when I say that, my fellas who are listening to that, it has nothing to do with the material aspect of it. That's just a symbol. That's just a representation of me kind of, cracking that door open and saying, look, it's a lot of love down this aisle that you may have never anticipated or thought about even trying to receive. And I think to a large degree, that's what men's responsibility is in relationships. We can pay all the bills. We can feel like a leader in a lot of different ways. But unless we're doing that work, unless we're able to hear our women on a level where they may not be able to hear themselves yet, a lot of my comments when I put up posts, brothers be like, man, we can't read their mind. I can read my wife's mind. Can't
Facts.
always, but a good 80% of the time, whether it
Absolutely.
got to do with what she needs in that day or what she needs on a soul level scale,
Yeah.
as far as a proposal or a ring, I can hear it. And I can only hear that because I'm doing that work within myself day in and day out to stay open and stay clear, to hear the intimacy of source communicating to me for me. But now that this is my partner and my helpmate, that trickles over to what it is that you may need. And I think this is a good point to finish up on, because we've been talking a lot about, did you have anything else about the ring, about the birthdays? Okay. I think this is a good point to finish up on, because we've been talking a lot about role reversal.
Yeah.
And the idea of what men are supposed to be doing in a union and in the family as opposed to women. And we had a conversation where we kind of came into the realization, to a large degree, men are told we supposed to be the leaders and the guides. And there are still times where that's supposed to be the case. But at least from our perspective, me being a man saying this, I feel like feminine energy is a better conductor of abundance, of power, of material wealth, whatever it is you want to call it. And we was able to harp on the fact that we believe women are the conductors and men are like the mechanics. So if you got, you working with electricity, if you're talking conductor, we went to see the museum for Alexander Graham Bell, not Alexander Graham Bell, who was it? The light bulb man.
Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison, in my hometown in Jersey, a few minutes from my hometown. I always wanted to go to his museum because he did a lot of his work right there in, I believe, West Orange. So his whole facility is still there. It's still a museum. And she came to visit me in Jersey one time, and we went there. So he's not remembered, or that whole facility and what Thomas Edison is about. Nobody's thinking about the mechanics who didn't come up with those ideas, but just came in to make sure the maintenance continue for electricity to get to the point where the world is run on electricity. We think of Thomas Edison. My bad, I bopped the back of your do. We think about Thomas Edison, we think about all those conductors and all those different materials we saw in there. We don't think about the mechanics, right?
Right.
So largely we feel like the world is looking at it backwards. We're looking at men as the conductors. You go get it. And of course we have that go get it type of energy, but a lot of times we're emotionally convoluted to the point where we can't allow that feminine creativity. When you look at things from the yogic principles, Shiva, the divine masculine, that's the source. That's the foundation off of which creation happens. That feminine energy, which is Shakti, she's the power that produces everything we experience in existence, right? So to a large degree, the natural order has kind of been reversed. And the powers that be, slavery, feminism, all these different things have put it in a space where men are supposed to be the conductors. I feel like we're supposed to be the mechanics, and you are a mechanic in ways where I can hear what her spirit needs. I'm a mechanic in ways where she has all these different endeavors and businesses going. And on days where you feel like I got deadlines, I got bottom lines to meet, but you tired. Sit your butt down.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
These are the aspects that I feel like masculine energy is supposed to show up in. And us living in a space where the roles are kind of reversed in that way. I do well for myself. I got a lot of things I do business wise. I got a lot of things that's coming, but I understand a huge part of my purpose in our relationship being that you are so uber ridiculously abundant. You're the most abundant person I've ever met in my life. I know my purpose is to be a mechanic.
Got you.
So I want you to speak on that as well.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you know, a lot of women are like, my man has to make this. He has to be safety. He has to be the provider. He has to be the leader. But then they get into the relationships with the man, and then they're like, actually, you're not leading me the way that I want. So I'm going to maintain my masculine energy because I don't trust that you can lead me. That's what a lot of women say. And so it kind of makes you think, if women are complaining about the men that they're dating not making enough money, because that's something that they care about. And then they're saying that when they get into the relationship, they don't trust how the man guides, and they don't trust that they'll guide them the proper way. And then women are kind of like innately controlling to a certain degree. They're extremely abundant. They have the ability to make a lot of money. It's not a coincidence that they are the ones that are in college and excelling the way that they are. So that kind of leads me to believe that, because it'll always be sexism before racism. When I was in school, that was the one thing that my history teacher always taught me. So when you have a society of men who have created a society that uplifts the men and then has the woman as the support, it confuses people of what their natural roles are. But if we look at how women and men actually move, women are natural leaders. They have the capacity to really be in their masculine or really be in their feminine. The other aspect is they are constantly manifesting, constantly bringing in money, constantly achieving. And then they get into relationships with men and they know the proper way that they want to be guided. They already have it in their minds, and to a large degree, they have to teach their man how they want to be guided. So when we have society telling us that men are the leaders and the providers, safety, absolutely, that's physically apparent. But the leaders and the providers, and that women kind of support that, all the evidence shows that women are innate leaders. They're innate providers. They have the capacity to be innate leaders. And that is a part of what I feel like is happening in relationships that's making things difficult, is they are playing on the wrong roles. They're attempting to force each other to have roles that are not innate to the person. So that's like me asking you to climb a tree, and you don't have the capacity to climb trees, but you do have the capacity to nurture soil. So it's like, I should be asking you to do the job that you actually have the capacity to do, and not the job that society has told me you're supposed to do. Because if we listen to everything in society, they have told us many things that are backwards, many things that are not true. And it's to confuse us and keep us in a cycle of doing things and having unhealthy behaviors that are not conducive to us evolving, healing, or growing.
Just went off. All right, so I got a few things with that.
That part stopped recording. Just want to let you know.
What you want to do?
I think we're good. We can just keep going.
So just no visual for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll just have to come to the podcast.
Okay. So yeah, with that being said, if you look in African culture, I studied African culture when I was in college. Just as, you know, a pastime, I was fully in my nerd bag when I was in college. I was still a minister in training, so I wasn't partying, I wasn't drinking and all this stuff. And I remember studying a lot of different African culture where they were matriarchies. The elderly women, the grandmothers, the mothers, they were actually leading the group, right?
Exactly.
And the men would have to take those orders. We would go, you know, kill the lions and what would you call it? Cut the skin off and do what we got to do. But we would take our orders for them. When you look in nature, the female lions and things, that they are actually the stronger ones. They kind of dictate to the men, all right, go handle that, go make sure this quarter is squared off. But when it come down to it, they're gonna fight the fiercest. They're the ones that are most feared. So it's not a matter of saying that either men or women are leaders solely and predominantly, right? It's a dance, but to a large degree, women have been put in a space and men have, it benefits us to act like we supposed to lead you. So you got women who are waiting their whole lives to be led. When, like you said, you got all this energy, you got all this information in your DNA that naturally makes you a great leader. Even something that y'all get joked on about, as far as not knowing what to eat. Part of that handicap, if you will, is because y'all see in so many different ways at the exact same time. And that can be convoluting if you don't have a mechanic that can kind of guide that ability to see all these different things. So when women are waiting their whole life for some man to come lead them, when men go into the relationships with that hubris that I'm supposed to lead you and that's the final say, then we aren't able to do this dance together. Men aren't able to realize how glamorous it can be to be a mechanic. Like you said, somebody got to climb the tree, somebody got to till the soil. And to a large degree, men have been put in women have been put in a subservient role, and men have been kind of propped up to be the one that's seen in a relationship. Behind every good man is a good woman. We used to kind of being in the spotlight and receiving that credit. So when we not in that position, when you tell a man your power may be more so in taking that back seat at certain points, man can't fathom that because he's so used to being at the forefront of every different layer of society and having a woman backing him up. A huge part of our power in relationships and communities and our families is recognizing the leadership abilities in the feminine energy in the women in our lives. Not all women have tapped into that yet, just like all men haven't tapped into theirs, but we got to recognize the potential for that in the feminine energy. And to a large degree, I've been riding the wave of that with my tribe, with my community, and of course now in my relationship. And my abundance, my creativity, my ability to lead has increased by honoring the leadership and my wife and the women in my circle.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. I think it's about to stop. That's okay. Why I was looking.
All right. So that's all we got for the day. The camera done shut down. The recorder done shut down. We gave a lot. Yeah, and we rusty, so we getting our rhythm back. But hopefully y'all got what y'all needed out of this experience. And yeah, we'll be back sooner than later. We promise. It won't be 2 months, but if it is what it is.
Absolutely. So thank y'all for checking in. If you need couples counseling, one-on-one counseling, hit up my husband. All the links are in the bio and at the bottom of the video. SASHA Flowers and my book. Go to my website to check it out.
The retreat is still live for next year, and make sure y'all tap in with me on the King Cave. I have relaunched the King Cave.
Oh yeah.
So we rocking out every first Thursday of the month, 6:30 p.m. And this is a platform on my IG Live where men can be completely honest and women can listen and contribute to the conversation. So make sure y'all check in with us about that as well. And share. Watch the previous 13 episodes if y'all haven't, and just help us get the word out for a platform that's as balanced as we believe this is.
Beautiful. Thank you, baby.
Yes.
Talk to y'all next time.
Peace. Okay.